All right, we are talking about connective tissue breakdown and muscle tissue breakdown, all as it regards protein and the amino acid blends or the amino acid complexes called peptides. Peptides are chains of amino acids, 2, 3, 4, even up to 50 or 100 or 1,000 amino acids long. Peptides and proteins are important for building connective tissue. When we look at each other and we look at ourselves in the mirror and we see that we're aging, our skin is getting wrinkly or thin, or our bones are starting to get weaker, we just don't look as good. Chances are we're dealing with a connective/muscle tissue problem. Yesterday we left off the program talking about cellulite. Cellulite is a connective tissue and muscle tissue, mostly connective tissue problem. This is why cellulite products don't work. This is why cellulite procedures that you have done at spas or in dermatologist's office using all kinds of wraps and gels and seaweed products, caffeine products are basically baloney. The connective tissue breakdown that occurs when you have cellulite is deep. It's not accessible to creams and wraps and gels and spa treatments. This is one of the benefits of dividing the body up in our mind's eye, of understanding that the body is compartmentalized. It's made up of different divisions or compartments, 4 basic compartments. If you don't make a distinction, for example, between the connective tissue compartment and the epithelia, which is the surface tissue compartment, you're going to think it's all the same thing. And then you're going to say, oh, well, I'll just rub some stuff on the surface and we'll fix our cellulite. Indeed, there are lots of people who do that, and there are lots of skincare professionals that do that. If you don't make this distinction between the various components and compartments of the body, you're going to be much less effective in how you address the body, how you address the skin, how you address breakdown, how you address cellulite, how you address bone and muscle. Not making this important distinction even worse will make you more vulnerable to marketing and sales products and sales pitches that we hear every single day, every minute of every day practically. Cellulite is purely and simply a connective tissue breakdown, like osteoporosis is a connective tissue breakdown, like wrinkles are a connective tissue breakdown, like thinning skin is a connective tissue breakdown. It's all basically the same thing. It's all connective tissue breakdown. Underneath our skin, we got a layer of connective tissue that gives our skin its firm, resilient nature. Underneath that, you've got a layer of fat, and what we call cellulite is the fat poking through the connective tissue, the weak connective tissue. By the way, hernias are the same thing. A hernia is a weak connective tissue, a weakened connective tissue, and stuff sticks through the connective tissue, and that's what a hernia is. Prolapse is the same thing, whether it's a prolapse uterus or a prolapse female reproductive system or prolapse anything. Prolapse, hernias, cellulite, wrinkles, accelerated aging, thinning skin, osteoporosis, accelerated aging, all of these are connective tissue issues. Why is this important? Because we can fix it ourselves. Even worse, your doctor can't do anything about it. No medical professional can build connective tissue using devices, using drugs, using surgical procedures. Cellulite is a classic sign of a connective tissue breakdown. Now, keeping in mind here, we always say this, all disease is cell disease. All breakdowns ultimately result from broken down cells. All breakdowns ultimately arise from cellular breakdown, and you can pretty much rest assured that when it comes to cellulite or wrinkles or thinning skin or osteoporosis or hernias or prolapses or any other connective tissue degeneration, you got a cell problem. A cell problem. This is so important. Somewhere, cells are not getting fed. Somewhere, cells are not getting oxygenated. Somewhere, cells are not being detoxified, and electrical energy and conductivity and nutrients are being blocked. Connective tissue and muscle tissue are made up of 2 components. Remember, all disease is cell disease. So when you got a problem in the body, your job, is to figure out what is the cells that are breaking down and how can we address those. When it comes to connective tissue / muscle tissue, you got 2 components. You got raisins and bread. All right, we're all made up of raisins and bread, raisin bread. In the body, we don't call them raisins and bread, obviously. We call them cells and stuff. The whole body, all the tissues of the body, got 4 tissues, and all the tissues of the body are made up of cells and stuff. Cells and stuff. We're all raisin bread. We're all cells and stuff. If you look in your body with your Superman X-ray vision, or not X-ray vision, but high magnification vision, you'll see cells surrounded by stuff. The cells of the muscle tissue and the cells of the connective tissue are surrounded with stuff. The cells that make the cool thing about the connective tissue and the muscle tissue is the cells make the stuff. The raisins make the bread. And then the bread in turn feeds back to the cells. It's like a circle. The cells make the stuff, and then the stuff nourishes and feeds back information and detoxifies the bread. Can you picture this in your mind's eye? It's really important to use your imagination to see how this thing works. All right, we'll continue this discussion when we come back from our break and take your phone calls as well. I'm Pharmacist Ben. You're listening to The Bright Side. We'll be back after this. There's so much I want to say here about cysteine, because that's what we're talking about, is cysteine, the amino acid cysteine, which is very, very, very important for building connective tissue. If you are dealing with cellulite, accelerated aging, wrinkles, osteoporosis, focus on the connective tissue, specifically focus on the cells of the connective tissue. The whole body is nothing more than cells and stuff. That's it. Two things. Those cells and stuff go to make 4 different components: connective tissue, muscle tissue, nervous tissue, and surface tissue, which we technically call epithelia tissue, but it's all made up of just 2 things: cells and stuff, raisins and bread, raisins and bread. The neat thing about the body is the cells make the stuff. The raisins make the bread. It's like we have magic raisins that make their own bread. And then we got magic bread that feeds and sustains and electrifies and oxygenates and detoxifies the raisins, which in turn make more bread, which in turn detoxify and sustain more raisins, which in turn make more bread, and on it goes. This is how the body works. Cells make the stuff, and then the stuff feeds back to the cells and cleans out the cells, etc. That's it. If we're sick or we're breaking down or we have some accelerated aging, something is going wrong with this circle of cells to stuff to cells to stuff of cells to stuff, and it all starts with the cells. The cells that make the extracellular stuff, by the way, the stuff, the bread, is called extracellular matrix. I'm just going to call it the matrix. The cells that make the matrix, the extracellular matrix, the matrix, I should say, has really, really interesting properties. The matrix is electrical. In fact, the matrix, the bread, the extracellular stuff, is electrical. It's highly electrical. It's piezoelectrical, which means it generates an electrical charge based on pressure. That's what piezoelectricity is. A crystal is piezoelectrical. You squeeze a crystal, a quartz crystal, it releases an electrical charge. Well, the body's the same thing. The stuff is the same thing. The extracellular matrix, the matrix, is just like a crystal. It is a crystal. You squeeze it, it generates an electrical charge. This is so amazing, because it means that by movement and by compression and relaxation of muscle tissue, for example, we can generate electricity. One of the key things that goes wrong when our body starts to break down is the bread, the stuff, gets dirty. It gets greasy. It gets filled with crap, usually from the digestive system, and that blocks the electrical generation properties of the bread. Then why is this important? Because we have control over it. I don't know how many different ways I could say it, but it's so powerful and so important. It means we have control because the dirt gets into the system, the dirt gets into the matrix, blocking the electrical charge, blocking oxygenation, detoxification, and nutrition to the bread, to the raisins, to the cells, by things that we are eating. Food is the main way, and digestive system breakdown is the main way this bread gets dirty, blocking the electrical charge, which means, and blocking nutrition and blocking oxygenation and detoxification as well, which means that by controlling our food intake, even doing something as simple as stopping our food intake, fasting, we can begin the cleanup process. That's why I'm always talking about fasting, reducing calories, changing your foods, patching up the digestive system, because that's the way we stop the stream of poison that's getting into the bread, getting into the matrix, that's blocking the energizing of the raisins, the cells. There's so much. I hope I'm not confusing you guys, because it really is not that complicated. Cells and stuff Stuff gets dirty, keeps the stuff from communicating and oxygenating and detoxifying and electrifying and nutrifying the raisins. That's basically the whole thing, the whole shebang. In fact, got a whole bunch of folks who want to talk to us. I'm going to tell you, each one of you guys, how this whole cells and stuff process works with your particular flavor of health challenge. And we'll start off, I think, let's start off with Paul in Illinois, see what Paul has to say. Paul, what's up, buddy? Paul in Illinois, welcome to the bright side, my man. No, Paul? 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 Hello, Paul. What's up, buddy?
I'm here.
How you doing? What can we help you with?
I got you. Okay. I didn't know you were talking about that subject, but I had told your board operator there I was interested in about cataracts. Maybe
perfect. Love cataracts. Love cataracts. Let's talk. Paul, we spent the last 15, 20 minutes talking about how the body breaks down, how you have cells and then you have stuff around the cells. And anytime you're dealing with cataracts or diabetes or osteoporosis or whatever, you're dealing with a problem between that has to do with the interaction between cells and stuff. Does that make sense how I explained that, Paul? Cells and stuff, raisins and bread. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So the body's composed of raisins and bread, cells and stuff. Cataracts are it's an eye cell issue. What happens is the cells of the eye, specifically of the lens of the eye, start to get distorted, and then you don't see as well. That's what a cataract is. A cataract is a distortion, a defect in eye cells that causes a distortion in how light gets through the lens of the eye and affects how you see. So you got broken down eye cells, eye lens cells. Does that make sense so far?
Yes.
Okay. Now, the eye lens cell, you got to really use your Superman magnification vision here and picture the lens of your eye and picture how the lens of your eye is made up of raisins and bread. It's made up of cells and then stuff around the cells. Does that make sense, Paul? I want to walk you through this thing so everybody can understand it and so you can understand it. Does that make sense how you've got your lens of your eye and the lens of your eye is made up of raisins and bread? It's made up of lens cells and stuff around the cells. Does that make sense?
Right.
Oh, yes. I want to hear a real firm yes. Or otherwise,
I've had them for 10 years.
No, Paul, I want you to listen to me. I don't want you don't go. If you want me to help you, you got to listen, okay? And I want everybody out there to listen as well. You got the lens of your eye. You got eye lens cells, and those eye lens cells are surrounded with bread, stuff, matrix, extracellular matrix, whatever you want to call it. When you have cataracts, for some reason, those eye lens cells are not getting detoxified, those eye lens cells are not getting fed, and those eye lens cells are not getting oxygenated. And this blockage in oxygen and nutrition and detoxification is causing the cells to become distorted. If you want to throw in electricity, you're getting a blockage of electricity into the cells as well. So you've got eye lens cells that are starving, you've got eye lens cells that are toxic, you've got eye lens cells that are suffocated, and you've got eye lens cells that are not generating an electrical charge. It all has to do with the eye lens cells. That's it. So we got to figure out, and by the way, the eye lens cells, they are constantly growing and reproducing and changing and dividing. So you have a lot of power here. What we got to figure out is how to restore those eye lens cells back to health, how to oxygenate them, how to nutriate them, how to detoxify them. Hang tight, Paul, because I'll tell you exactly how you do it so you never have to deal with cataracts again. I'm Pharmacist Ben. You're listening to The Bright Side. We'll be back right after this. On the bright side, we're talking to Paul in Illinois. Paul, you there?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay, so we got a cell problem, and that's the most important thing because when you think about cataracts, nobody thinks about cells. Not your doctor, not your nutritionist, not your dietitian. Nobody thinks about the cells that are breaking down. Cataracts are nothing more than osteoporosis of the eye, cellulite of the eyes, of the lens of the eye. The lens of the eye has eye lens cells. It's made up of the same thing that the rest of the body is, raisins and bread, cells and stuff around the cells. If you got cataracts, you got eye lens cells that are not getting fed, oxygenated, or detoxified, especially with sugar. So the biggest thing that you want to do with cataracts is start to clean that bread out. especially when it comes to sugar. Sugar is one of the most toxic substances to bread and ultimately to cells. So reducing your intake of sugar is the number one thing to do with all breakdown, really, but especially when it comes to eye cell breakdown, because the eye cells are very, very, very sensitive, as they should be, because they're responding to light. They got to be sensitive. Well, all your cells are sensitive, but cataracts and diabetes and blood sugar problems go hand in hand. So number one, start to work on your sugar intake. That means reducing your sugar intake. And bread is sugar and pasta is sugar. I'm sure you know this from listening to the program. Bread and pasta and refined flours, they all count as sugar. Reducing your intake of these kinds of foods is job number one to help clean out that bread. Using nutrients that help you process sugar is also important for cleaning out the bread, cleaning out the extracellular matrix or matrix. The B vitamins, use the Beyond Tangy Tangerine, probably the two most important B vitamins for cleaning out sugar, cleaning the bread from sugar, eliminating sugar from the bread, is niacin and thiamine, vitamins B1 and B3, but you want all the B vitamins. BTT is one of the neatest things about the BTTs. You get all the B vitamins in liquid format. Magnesium is important for blood sugar issues and cataracts. I'd be using the Osteomag. Let's see what else. The amino acids taurine and arginine can be very helpful. The B vitamin-like complex choline can be very helpful. And let's see what else, other good blood sugar nutrients. Alpha lipoic acid can be very helpful. These are all very important. As it turns out, anything that helps you with blood sugar is also going to help you with eyes. And by the way, not just cataracts, but also glaucoma. One of the leading causes of blindness and cataracts and glaucoma is blood sugar issues. So working on the blood sugar problems is very important. You said you had your cataracts for 10 years. That means your blood sugar has not been controlled for at least 10 years, probably more. So this is very important. Does that make sense so far, Paul? Controlling blood sugar.
Yes.
All right. Okay, next thing is the talk cleaning out the bread. In terms of cleaning out the bread is working on the digestive system. If you have any food problems, any foods that you know that cause gas or bloating or diarrhea or constipation, eliminate those foods. Start to patch up the gut using probiotics, using glutamine powder, using aloe vera and noni juice. You can get the aloe vera and noni products from Youngevity. Biolumin Nightly Essence is probably your most important. In my opinion, it's the best probiotic supplement going. Using digestive enzymes after meal. You notice we're not talking about specifically anything with the eye yet. We're talking blood sugar and we're talking digestive system. And then the third thing you want to do is make sure you're moving your body around. We don't talk about this anywhere nearly enough, but the lymphatic system is your drainage system, your sewage system in the body, and it's tied into movement. The more you move, not only are you going to generate electricity, as we talked about earlier, movement generates electricity, but the more you're going to detoxify, you're going to keep that, you're going to compress and squeeze the lymph and the toxins out of the body. So in addition to controlling the digestive system, toxicity entering in through the digestive system, moving your body around is also very, very important for helping drain the lymphatic system, drain the lymph, drain the sewage system, if you will. And then don't forget about your deep breathing techniques as well. Now, there's some nutrients that are specifically important for the eye, especially vitamin C, vitamin E, zinc, and vitamin A. Those are probably the four most important. Selenium, you could throw that one in there as well. You'll get those in the Vision FX. So you got lots and lots of things to do. You haven't even been doing one or two of those things, but that's good news, Paul, because that means you have lots of places that you can work to begin this turnaround process. And cataracts, the eyes of the lens, that get cataracted, that get cloggy, that get cloudy and distorted, those eye cells, those lens cells, replace themselves. This is so important because it means you don't have to be condemned to cataracts. The lenses, the cells of the eye, the lens cells, replace themselves. So if they're cataracted, which means cloudy and distorted, they're going to be turned over. And your new cells, as long as you're taking care of your blood sugar and taking care of your digestive system and taking care of your lymphatic system and making sure you're deep breathing and getting your vitamin A and your vitamin C and your vitamin E and your selenium for the eyes, as long as you do all those steps that I just talked about, the new lens cells will come back clear. The new eye lens cells will come back healthy because the eye lens cells are constantly being turned over. Does that make sense, Paul? You're not condemned. Nobody with cataracts is condemned. All right? Does that make sense, my friend?
I'm doing everything wrong my whole life. I'm lucky I'm still alive, I guess.
Well, that's a testimony to the, you know what, Paul? That's a testimony to the life force. You're right. Sometimes I wonder how I'm still alive or how my friends or my patients are still alive, but that is a testimony to the life force. Our life expectancy has increased dramatically in the last 10 years, but what they call years with disability, years with degeneration have increased. So even though we're living longer, we're more degenerated. And this is the biggest problem with our health epidemic. Everybody says, well, we're living much longer, life expectancy increased. Yeah, but we're sicker and we're more degenerated and our bodies are falling apart at a much more accelerated pace, even though we're living. So yeah, we may be able to live till 75 or 80 or even 90 years old, but it's the quality of life that's suffering. And that is where nutritional supplementation and dietary strategies, blood sugar strategies, oxygenation, and detoxification come in. I hope I helped you, Paul, and I hope I didn't confuse things more than they were, confuse you even more than you were before, if you were confused indeed. All right, Maureen in Virginia, welcome to the bright side. What's going on?
Hey, I've got a chronic cough. I've had it for years. Horribly sticky mucus, like it's almost like a glue.
Okay, here you go. Well, we're going to talk about cells and stuff, all right? Because our theme all the time, but especially today, is cells and stuff. Mucus means a defensive response. Your body's defending itself against something. Make sense so far? Are you there, Maureen?
I'm here.
Okay, so your body is defending itself. Anytime you have mucus secretion, that's a defensive response. Mucus is slimy, it's cushiony, it kind of protects the tissue underneath. Now, if it's happening in your lungs, it could be coming in from two places. It could be coming in through the food. It almost always is coming in through food, but there's an outside chance that if it's coming in through the lungs, you may have a respiratory problem too. But they're probably related. So here's what you want to do. You want to figure out what is getting into your body that's causing your intestinal cells to initiate a defensive response. When the intestinal cells initiate a defensive response, they start to secrete chemicals. They're called immune chemicals, technically immune globulins or IGs. These immune chemicals get into the blood and they initiate an immune response in the various tissues of the body, specifically, especially the highest concentrations in the lungs, in the respiratory system, and the digestive system. Now, I would guess, Maureen, you probably know that you have some kind of digestive problem associated with your respiratory problem, correct?
Actually, no. We eat very healthy.
I don't want to hear that, Maureen. Healthy is silly. That's just a word that your doctor told you because your doctor says eat healthy. What does healthy mean? You could be eating spinach and reacting. That's healthy. You could be eating tomatoes and reacting. That's healthy. You could be eating eggplant and reacting. That's healthy. You could be eating potatoes and reacting. That's healthy. See what I'm saying, Maureen? What we think is healthy doesn't necessarily mean we're not reacting. Hang tight. I'll finish up when we come back from our break. I'm Pharmacist Ben. You're listening to The Bright Side. We'll be back after this.
A little right, a little left, but always independent-minded. The Genesis Communications Network, GCN.
We're back on The Bright Side talking to Maureen in Virginia. Maureen, so you get that healthy doesn't necessarily mean non-reactive, right? There's a difference between being healthy.
Yes.
Oh, okay, good. And that's really important for everybody out there because we always think we're eating healthy, but it doesn't mean we're not reacting. Where there's smoke, there's fire. Where there's mucus, there's reaction. Make sense?
Can I ask you something?
Well, no, let me just see if that makes sense.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Does that make sense? Where there's mucus, there's reaction.
Yes.
Okay, good. Go ahead. What were you going to say?
I wanted to know if it's possible that a tapeworm could cause the mucus.
Well, yeah, but you can't. There are parasites and tapeworms, clearly, but I can't help you with tapeworms. I can't pull a tapeworm out or a parasite out on the radio, but I can give you a lot of good information on the radio. So if it is a parasite, well, yeah, that's mucus, and that's a defensive reaction, and mucus is a response to an assault. It's a defensive reaction. That's so important, you guys. Vasodilation, which means redness, opening of blood vessels, and mucus are the hallmark signs of a defensive response. When you see redness, when you have mucus, you got a defensive response. That's the way the body protects itself. It opens up the blood vessels so that white blood cells and immune cells can get to the area, and so drainage can occur, and it secretes mucus. Mucus cells start secreting to protect the tissue underneath. Mucus is like a cushion. It slimes things away, so that's a defensive response. Whenever you have a defensive response, whether it's redness or mucus, we have one question to ask and one question only. If your doctor or healthcare professional is not asking that question, find another healthcare professional who will ask that question. What are we defending ourselves from? Now, you have it in the lungs, Maureen, so it's conceivable, possible that you could be breathing something in. That's rare. Now, that could happen. I'm not saying it's not happening, so you're going to have to look out for mold and for fungus and for stuff that's getting in the air, maybe if you have some kind of insulation problem in your home. But chances are you've got this problem whether you're in the home or whether you're not in the home, wherever you go. So more than likely you're dealing with some kind of digestive distress. And the only way to know what's causing it on a digestive system level is to link it to bowel movement problems, gas, bloating, constipation. And I know you may think that you don't have any of these problems, and it may very well be that you don't, but it's probable that you do. Otherwise, you wouldn't have that mucus. So even if you think you don't have any problems, really pay attention. Pay close attention. And I've been doing this 30 years now, Maureen, and I can't even count the amount of times I've talked to people and they say, well, I don't have any problems. And then a week later, 2 weeks later, say, oh yeah, I just realized that I do have constipation and I didn't know. So I don't mean to discount your experience or your opinions, your ideas about how your body works. But really, if you have you're having that kind of defensive response, you got to figure out what's getting into the system, and it's more than likely going to be something you're eating. Yes, it could be something you're breathing, but that's unlikely. Now, the second thing you could do is start to patch up the digestive system. If you're not on a good probiotic supplement, get on one. Get on the BioLumin Nightly Essence. I would do it as soon as possible. That alone can make a huge difference. You can also use other digestive support, nutritional supplements for digestive support, apple cider vinegar after meals, lecithin, glutamine, pancreatin, the ultimate enzymes for longevity, aloe, noni, all the things we always talk about on this program. So, long story short, focus on the digestive system, maybe the outside chance or outside possibility you're breathing something in. But those are the two places that you want to look, and then use the nutritional support for the digestive system. And I'd love to talk to you. I can't really give you the full workup here on the radio, but if you shoot me an email, ben@ksco.com, and make sure you put on there Maureen from Virginia, and put your phone number on there, I'll get back to you. Okay, Maureen?
Thank you so much, Ben.
God bless you. Thanks so much. I hope I'm clearing this up for you guys, because it really is simple. It's not complicated. And yes, it seems like we're dying on the vine. It seems like our degenerative diseases and our degenerative crises are reaching epic and epidemic proportions, and they probably are, but it's so unnecessary, you guys. We can do this. We have to just zoom in, use our magnification vision, understand the logic of the body, the logic of cells and stuff, the logic of the defensive response, the logic of toxification and lack of oxygen and lack of nutrition, the logic of the extracellular matrix or the bread, whatever you want to call it, and the electrical conductivity that's going through it. It has nothing to do with drugs. It has zero to do with the medical model. It has zero to do with your doctor. It's all in our control. We can do it all ourselves. You don't need me even. All I'm doing is coaching you through this thing. All right. I hope I'm clearing things up for you and not making it more confusing. And we'll continue taking some phone calls. Maybe it'll clarify it even further for you guys. Mary in Michigan, welcome to the Bright Side. What's up?
Hi, Ben. A couple of really quick questions here.
Sure.
You just gave your email address, and I didn't understand. It's Ben at...
K as in King, S as in Sam, C as in Cat, O as in Oscar, KSCO. That's my home radio station. Yeah, and I got to tell you guys, just to everybody out there listening, because every time I give my email, I get tons of emails. I get so many emails, and I try to get back to as many as I can. If I haven't gotten back to you, put second attempt, third attempt, fourth attempt, whatever it is, and I'll put, eventually, I hope eventually I'll get to you. But I literally get hundreds of emails a month, and it's very difficult to reach everybody, but I want to reach everybody, so keep trying, okay?
Have you done anything on your blog for the cholesterol hoax? You gave such an awesome description of that, and I can never remember.
I don't know if I have. I've been writing the blog for a couple of years, and I've got hundreds of articles, and I don't remember. Sometimes I repeat myself, and I write them over and over again. Here's the scoop on cholesterol. You need it. It's not bad. It's good, and that includes LDL. LDL, by the way, is a carrier of cholesterol. It carries cholesterol to tissues. To suppress LDL is just as stupid a strategy as using any other prescription drug to help your body. I didn't mean to digress there. How can I help you today, Mary?
Okay. if I'm drinking, I found out that the water that I'm drinking, it's an artesian well water, but it is acidic. And if I'm putting stuff in it to bring up the alkalinity of it, if I drink that, pardon?
Well, it doesn't really matter if you're drinking acidic water. Your stomach is acidic, so when the water gets into your stomach, it's going to become acidic anyway. So acid and alkaline foods are really very overrated. It's kind of much ado about nothing, and that includes acid and alkaline drinks. Now, if you're drinking a mineral-rich drink, however, the fact that it's alkaline isn't as important as the fact that there's minerals in there. So by mineralizing your water, and then using the Beyond Tangy Tangerine, by the way, is a great way to do that, you'll be raising the pH of the water. You'll be alkalinizing the water, but what really matters is you'll get the minerals in the water. And that's why lemon juice and apple cider vinegar, even though they're acidic, when you drink them, by the time they get processed, they become mineral. They release their minerals, and in essence, they're actually alkaline after they've been processed. So don't pay too much attention to the acidity or the alkalinity of the water as much as you're paying attention to the mineral content of the water. And if you're drinking your Beyond Tangy Tangerine or you're using liquid supplements, you're going to get good absorbable minerals. Is that
okay?
Is that where you're going with this?
Well, if I'm using magnesium to get my system less acidic, which I'm very acidic, my concern was drinking that after I had eaten, if it was going to affect my digestion.
Depending on how alkaline it is, but it's very unlikely. Sodium bicarbonate might affect your digestion because that's really, really alkaline, but most waters aren't going to do that. Now, here's the thing, though. Acidity in the blood is a sign of toxicity. You don't want to think about it as being acidic as much as you want to think about it as toxicity. It means you're not processing poisons correctly. Okay? You're with me, Mary? So that means a couple of things. Number one, your poisons are getting into your body, probably through the digestive system, either because you're eating the wrong foods or you're not digesting and processing them correctly, or both. So I'd be focusing on foods and digestive processing first and foremost. Okay. And then another thing, and this is very important when it comes to blood acidity and blood pH, etc. The main mechanism for keeping your blood alkaline, and your blood needs to be slightly alkaline, the main mechanism is oxygen and respiration. That means blowing off carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide in the exhale is acidic. In the exhalation is acidic. So the more you exhale, the more you're blowing off acid. You're exhaling acid. Did you know this, Mary?
No, I did not.
So this is why you want to be making sure that you're respirating. Inhaling is alkaline. Oxygen is alkaline. So every time you take a puff, inhalation of oxygen, a breath of oxygen, you're raising your blood pH. And every time you exhale, you're blowing off acid. Again, you're raising your blood pH. So effective respiration is the main way we maintain blood pH. Effective respiration. Now, if you have anything clogging the bread, you know what I mean when I say bread, the matrix, that's going to affect how acid or alkaline the cells are at the cell level. And this is where the detoxification through the digestive system, through eliminating the problem foods and correcting digestive processing come into play. You can also use things like bentonite clay and zeolite clay and algae that can connect up or chelate or magnetically attract toxins out of the body. And that's another strategy for you. Acidity means toxicity. Acid is toxic. It's a sign of, it's a condition of cellular waste. Cellular waste is acidic. So if acids are building up, it means cellular wastes are not being cleared. Gosh, I hope I cleared things up for you a little bit this last hour, how simple the body is. It really is not that complicated. Raisins and bread, cells get toxic, improve detoxification, oxygenation, make sure you're getting good nutrition, eliminating problem foods. It's really that simple. You know, and there's no drugs required, no doctors required, no pharmacists required, no insurance companies required. We can do it all ourselves. And that's why this program, my friends, is called The Bright Side. It's the good news about the power of good nutrition. Thanks so much for listening, friends. We'll be back at you tomorrow with more good health information. Take care.